You are now listening to the Pancakes and Powerslams show by Crave Wrestling on Blog Talk Radio. Be sure to follow Crave Wrestling on Twitter at Crave Wrestling and join the Facebook fan page Crave Wrestling.
And this is 358 episodes of the Pancakes and Powerslams show. Indeed, indeed, indeed. I am Chris Featherstone here live in living color. Getting funky like a monkey, if you will. I'm ready to have some fun just like we do every single week. Another live Q&A this week. This person, you know, I was thinking about doing a Pancakes and Powerslams Hall of Fame this year. I don't know. I don't know how. We've talked about that on previous shows. But you know, it takes a lot of work. I want to make it look really good. I might announce them. I might have them come on. I don't know how I want to do that yet. But I'm gonna give you a spoiler alert. That's for sure. If I do go along with the official presentation or a official show that is the Pancakes and Powerslams Show Hall of Fame, whatever it is, if I do it, this person will certainly be on the Pancakes and Powerslams show, be inducted into the P&P Hall of Fame, because I think this is this person's. I'm not sure. I think we're at 6 or 7 at this point as far as appearances on the Pancakes and Powerslams show. So this person has a lot of investment within the success of the Pancakes and Powerslams show over the past 358 episodes. It'll be 7 years in April. And this person has been with us for a few years now. I don't even know. Maybe 4, maybe 3, 4 years, something like that. That he's been affiliated with the Pancakes and Powerslams show. But regardless of the years, this person's been on the show. Record-breaking times, and I really, really appreciate him taking his time each and every time to be a part of the show. So, I've had his buddy Sean Navarro on a bunch of times too, 6 or 7 times, including a couple weeks ago. Them two in the Hall of Fame. I would say Marty Elias. I've had him on 6 or 7 times. JTG, another. 6 or 7, something like that. So regardless, if whatever Hall of Fame I come up with, which I'm not sure, just like me and JTG talked about a few months back, there is a 5-timers club in the Pancakes and Powerslams show. This person is indeed in the 5-timers club. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I can say as many accolades as I can to pump this guy up. He doesn't need any introduction. He is Mr. Anderson. Anderson, how are you tonight, sir?
Thank you. I'm very good, and thank you for that warm introduction. And I was thinking it's got to be at least 5 times now.
Yeah.
When you said 6 or 7, that's a possibility as well.
Yes. You certainly.
Thank you for having me on.
Man, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for taking your time each time, and you're definitely in the 5-timers club. I'll check and see exactly, but you've definitely made. You definitely get your SNL jacket.
Sweet.
Speaking of SNL, was that a common show that you watched when you were growing up, or were you just a sporadic SNL watcher? What years were your what was your golden years of SNL?
I remember watching it with my dad when I was really young. Mm-hmm. I want to say I was like 8 or 9 years old, and it was he would only let me watch little bits and pieces because it was an adult show and I was such a kid. Yeah. But I remember specifically Eddie Murphy's Gumby and Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood and stuff like that. I remember my dad having a VHS tape or no, it was a beta. I'm sorry, because for those of us that were around at that time, when the two machines came out at the time, when tapes started becoming a big thing, it was VHS and beta. And beta was supposed to be the creme de la creme. It was supposed to be the better of the two, but VHS just happened to be cheaper, so everybody bought VHS, and beta became pretty much obsolete. So all the video stores had a big sale, and I remember my dad bought a bunch of movies, and one of them was the Best of John Belushi from Saturday Night Live, and I used to watch that. I must have watched that 100 times when I was a kid, as well as Animal House and Risky Business and Police Academy and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved the show growing up.
Mm-hmm. I think my golden years.
Why do you ask?
I don't know. Why did I ask? We were talking about us and Five Timers Club.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, got you. There we
go. For me, it was. I think it was probably like 90. Like to me, like 89 to like 97. I probably watched every single SNL episode, and
was that Adam Sandler?
Yeah, Adam Sandler. 89 was more of the Mike Myers.
Wayne's World.
Yep, Mike. So him and Dana Carvey were real big at the time. Of course, Chris Farley's my all-time favorite actor. 89 still had like Kevin Nealon. So like Tim Meadows was starting to. Was coming up and starting to become big. Adam Sandler, So, and then it started to get into the like the early '90s to mid '90s. Mid '90s was real big, like on Will Ferrell, Cheryl Terry, Chris Kattan. I'm missing someone. Molly Shannon. That was,
I kind of stopped watching around that time.
Yeah, me too.
But I wanted to be Dana Carvey when I was in high school. That's what I wanted to do, and I would do his impersonations of George Bush and stuff like that all the time.
You get the what about the Ross Perot? Can I finish?
Ross Perot, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I used to do Ross Perot. I remember Dana Carvey doing both Ross Perot and George Bush during the debates, and then what was his name doing Bill Clinton? He's dead now.
Phil Hartman.
Phil Hartman.
Yep.
He amazing stuff.
He
really
did.
Cool.
Yeah. Phil Hartman was hilarious too. Yeah. All right. So, Five Timers Club SNL. Great way to start off the chat tonight.
Yeah.
So I don't know then the last time you've been on the show, but what have you done since then? I can check and see real quick. But what's your life been since then?
It's been Academy. We've continued to run the Academy. Davari is no longer with me. We remain great friends, but he moved to Vegas and now he works for WWE again, which is awesome. And I'm just continuing to train new students. I take independent bookings here and there, but for the most part, it's mostly Monday through Friday. I run the Academy and train new students.
Nice.
So it's been really fun, and it's been really cool and very rewarding to see some of my students kind of spread their wings. I kicked them out of the nest, and they learned to fly on their own. And a bunch of my students have been used as extras for WWE when WWE was in town, when they were in Minneapolis and Milwaukee just a few months ago in November. One of my students got a match on 205 Live, and it was, interestingly enough, it was against Hideo and Arya, who's also, he spends a lot of time at the academy, one of the original trainers that we had. So it was cool that he got to be in a segment with him. And then a couple of our students got used as extras for the No Way Jose segment on Raw the night before. Another one of my students got to work against Cassius Ohno for NXT. And another one was used as an extra in the background. So it's been pretty cool. It's good to see my students getting out there.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. That's awesome. And just as a teacher, just looking at that stuff, it's just like, man, I know I just had Sean on the show a few weeks back, and, he was talking about how just, just a career trajectory of his stuff. It a lot of times it pales in comparison just to see, his students succeed and have time and things like that, and especially his brother Arya. So, I'd imagine that you would share that as well, as far as just, seeing your students, just really shine and have television exposure. I'm sure that really gives you an indelible sense of gratitude as well, and appreciation. So good stuff, man.
It is. And I like when good things happen to other people. So, especially when it's somebody and you've had a hand in sort of, these students are getting these opportunities because they're putting themselves out there. But I at least had a hand in it, and that's kind of rewarding.
Yep, certainly. January 16th, 2018. That's the last time I got on the show. So just FYI. All right, we got some questions. Hashtag Ask Ken. We got Francesco asking, what was your reaction when you found out about losing your Money in the Bank contract to Edge? And we've talked about this before, just as far as you saying that, you finding out that, which, an injury that was expected to, was thought to take months and months and months to recover, ended up being a matter of weeks. And it was just kind of, you were snubbed, but it wasn't purposely snubbed, but with correct doctors, with the correct doctor's prognosis, you probably would have been world heavyweight champion.
Yeah, I was almost there.
Yeah.
I was, I think, 2 days away from cashing that in, something like that.
Wow.
Well, it was the next day. I was actually going to win the title from Taker the next day. We had already planned it, and it sort of given me the layout. And then I got that injury. And, it's frustrating, but what do you do? It's just part of life. Yeah. Things happen, and you got to make the best. And I don't harbor any ill will or resentment towards anybody. It's just part of life.
Yeah, good stuff, man. It's a good way to good way to take it, because it's really, man, it's really easy to really think about that stuff, and as a wrestler, and but the very fact that you take it that way is respectful. Respectable.
I mean, it's very easy to you pour your heart and your soul and spend a good portion of your life trying to accomplish something. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if I sat and worried about it and fretted over it day in and day out, the only person that's going to be affected by that is me.
Indeed.
And negatively. Nobody else cares, really. I mean, people might care, like have concern, but at the end of the day, like, everybody else has problems too, and those problems are much smaller than other people in the world. Yeah. First world problems.
First world problems, indeed. That's for sure. Fernando's asking, you ever think about joining the Undisputed Era? You seem perfect for it. Very interesting question.
The Undisputed Era. don't understand the question. What's
the Undisputed Era,
the
NXT stable, comprising of Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and Roderick Strong.
I haven't really thought about it, but I guess it would be a bridge that I would cross if it was ever presented to me. I don't think I would say no. I mean, I would definitely give it a shot.
Yeah. Another question is, what was your thought process after that chair shot from the Undertaker?
Cool chair shot. I was glad that it looked good. That was about it. It really wasn't that bad. It was just, I think, the way that he held the chair and it opened up. You know, it wasn't as bad as everybody kind of makes it out to be. But I'm glad it looked that bad, because that's really the art of what we do, is making things look sick without actually hurting each other.
True.
But, yeah,
to piggyback on that real quick, what are your thoughts on removing and penalizing people for chair shots to the head in the WWE?
I'm all for it. With what we know about concussions, there's just no reason for it.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no need for it. There's many other ways that we can convey whatever message that sends without actually having to concuss somebody and cause them permanent brain damage. It's just completely unnecessary. So I'm all for removing it and finding different ways to, to convey that level of violence.
Yeah, certainly. What wrestler today would you want to have a match with, and what would the stipulation be?
Oh boy. I don't know. There's so many guys right now that I really admire and respect. I'd love to get in the ring with a guy like Seth Rollins, or I guess I'm a big fan of his work, and even like Roman Reigns. I've been a big fan of Roman Reigns for a while, and I can never understand the negativity that people had towards him.
100% agree with that.
I mean, I guess I could to a degree, but just the level of negativity that I heard from people it just kind of boggled my mind. But I think he's, he seems to get it.
Yep, I agree. I've been a Roman Reigns apologist on the show for quite some time. I agree with you, man. You just you got somebody who come out there who grabs the proverbial brass ring, who obviously
he can talk. He looks good.
Yeah, he's the guy for the morning shows afterwards. You know what I mean? He's the ideal guy for that.
He's not a troublemaker. He's not in trouble. He's not an embarrassment to the company.
Exactly. Yep.
He represents the company well. He's
strong family pedigree. Hall of Famers of his family members, and you can tell that he noticeably progressed in the ring over the years. And you can tell that he's really serious about honing his craft in the business. And you have so many people who are really good wrestlers: Daniel Bryan, Chris Jericho, AJ Styles. All of them have highly praised Roman Reigns in the ring. So I don't know. There's
something to the idea that I'm not there, but I've heard that he sort of, when Taker pretty much became a very, for all intents and purposes, Taker's no longer there. Mm-hmm. He sort of assumed that role as a locker room leader.
Yeah,
that you don't just. Nobody just hands you that. That is something that you earn in that environment, and I don't think that he would have earned that. There's a reason why he earned it, or there's a reason why he's in that spot.
Especially being so young in the business, too.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And having accomplished, if you compare him to Undertaker, he's accomplished nothing, really.
True. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Taker's 30 years in the business.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's see. What Mahmoud is asking, what is it like being TNA? What was it like being TNA heavyweight champion, and did you feel like you were ready to hold that belt?
Yes, absolutely. It's one of those things that I guess, at the end of the day, titles are props to a degree, but it's something that everybody strives for, or I think should strive for, to be recognized by the company and by your peers to a certain degree, that you're able to hold that title and represent the company in a certain way for any length of time is I guess it's a compliment, and I guess that's really all I got to say about that.
And I want to piggyback on that too. That ugly belt, the Jeff Hardy purple belt. We may have talked about this before.
I loved it for Jeff.
It was.
I loved it for Jeff.
Really?
It was Jeff's
I mean, I can
deal.
see it.
It was his design.
Yeah.
Well, it was
storyline wise.
It fit him. It was something that he designed.
Mm-hmm.
He drew it. But I wanted the TNA title.
Yeah. Oh, that was just and why did they go along? Why did they even go further into keeping that belt even for a little bit? What was the idea behind that? Because it was such an ugly belt. It just seemed like it should have been the day that you beat Jeff Ford. They should have given you the actual TNA World Heavyweight Championship.
I recall them telling me that it was sort of a feather in my cap, that I was to look at it as sort of a feather in my cap, that I took that title away from Jeff Hardy. That was his title, his baby, and I took it from him. And it was sort of like rubbing it in his face. That was the logic behind that.
Interesting.
Which is, reasonable.
Reasonable, probably from you and Jeff and the bookers, but the people watching on the other side is probably not as reasonable. Let's see. There's a couple more questions before we close here. I don't want to take too much of your time. I appreciate the time spent already. We got Prince Rana asking, will you join AEW?
I would. I think I would. I think I'm really excited to see what they do, and I don't know, what sort of capacity I'm even able to. I can still go. I can still wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
However, I've got kids, and I really, really want to be there for my kids. So it's kind of hard for me to even consider having a wrestling schedule, normal full-time wrestling schedule anymore.
Yeah. Still a relative newlywed, right? You've been married a couple of years now?
I'm remarried, and we just celebrated our 1-year wedding anniversary.
1 year,
January
wow.
29th.
Congratulations, man. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How does it feel? I mean, just as far as your current wife, and
it's amazing, and I found an amazing woman who supports me in everything that I do, and it's just pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I feel like I married my best friend. I hear people say it all the time. I feel like I can't judge anybody else, but it's definitely not lip service when I say that I was fortunate enough to marry my best friend.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of that philosophy. I'm a huge advocate of that philosophy, actually. So I personally think if you marry your best friend, you can. There's a lot of arguments that can be prevented. There's a higher degree of understanding. There's a higher degree of patience. There's a higher degree of respect. And it's one of those things that you can joke things off with your best friend that could be offensive. But if you marry,
definitely.
If you marry someone who you don't have that kinship with, that friendship with, everything can be looked at as an attack. And when you marry your best friend, you have more of a gauge of I respect you so highly as a friend that I'm not going to feel like I was attacked or attack you. So that's just
and we like a lot of the same things. Like we're both huge video game nerds.
Oh, I didn't know you were a gamer.
I'm not like a computer gamer. I don't really play online Call of Duty or anything like that, or Fortnite or any stuff. But I love, things like Fallout and Tomb Raider and
nice.
Now I was just playing Red Dead Redemption 2 and stuff like that. We can play for hours, and I'm 42 years old, and all my girlfriends growing up to my ex-wife hated video games, and it was always just like if I wanted to play video games, I had to either sort of be in the doghouse or I'd go do it by myself. It was never something that I could. And my wife now, like, we will sit down for 12 weeks. A couple weeks ago, we bought the new Spyro the Dragon. It's the remastered Spyro the Dragon.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you ever played that or not, but we sat and played and got every single achievement, and all the coins and all the everything. We got 100% on all 3 games. And we just sat and played for an entire weekend.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And she's my business partner, and we have the same philosophy on how to treat people and how to treat the students and what's important to us. And we like the same movies and music, and something that, in the past I just sort of had to, there were so many differences, and I just sort of had to, or I felt like I had to just sort of settle and say, well, not everybody's going to, I'm never going to find anybody that likes exactly the same things that I do. And it's not true.
Yep. There's a lot of people out here to to have some similarities with. I agree, and I think there should be a pretty high standard when it comes to sharing the rest of your life with someone. So the interview process should be very stringent. So all right, a couple more. Let's see. Good question here. Do you remember wrestling? Well, I'm sorry, you do remember. I guess I should reword. I'll say the question, and then I'll reword the question. Okay. The question says, "Do you remember wrestling Eddie Guerrero's last match?" I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. If I can reword it, I will say, "How can you recall wrestling Eddie Guerrero's last match?"
It was just, I remember going into it, I was super excited to be wrestling Eddie in the first place. And the sense of calm that I had going into the match, it was a huge match, probably the biggest match of my career at that point. And, but which normally that would bring this sense of, what am I going to do? And this, I guess this idea that I had to live up to this expectation or whatever. And I was so calm about it because Eddie was such a pro that I knew that I didn't have to worry about anything, that he would sort of, worst case scenario, he would hold my hand. He would be able to pull me out of it, and I just had to listen to him. Yeah. And really, that's what happened. Yep. And it was really cool, very fun, and I got to do that spot with him that I just absolutely loved, and I was able to recreate it a few years ago when I wrestled Marty Skrull for Ring of Honor. Mm-hmm. He sort of did a tribute to the spot where Eddie throws the chair to me, acts like I hit him with the chair, and the ref turns around and sees me with the chair and disqualifies me. It was awesome. Yeah. Absolutely. And I'm just so sad that it was his last match.
Yeah. Were there any other times where you were kind of slated to be world champ, or is just the Money in the Bank time?
Yeah, I mean, I was. I don't think there was ever a time where I was going to be the champ, so to speak. But I know that I was well on my way to working my way up that ladder when I suffered my first injury. I tore my lat, and I had to be out of action for 8 or 9 months. And that sort of brought everything to a screeching halt. And then when things finally started back up again, and then they were going to put the title on me, then that's when everything came to a screeching halt again because of another injury. So, injuries sort of plagued my career, but and I've heard people say, I remember I used to listen to these. I would read the dirt sheets and stuff like that, and like, he's injury prone. Like, every injury that I ever suffered was, well, except for one, was at the hands of another. So like, I would never watch somebody get hit in the face with a sledgehammer and say that guy's injury prone. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Right. That's good.
So it makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so I'll close it up with this. So typically, I mean, there's a lot of times where people, they leave WWE and because of one reason or another. Now, at least a lot of times they come back in some fashion, even if it's for a short time, for an appearance, for something. Why didn't WWE and Ken Anderson, Ken Kennedy, why didn't they reconcile after you left?
I can't. I don't really. It's not that I don't want to answer that question. I just can't answer that question. I don't really know. I think part of it had to do with my attitude, probably.
Okay.
I was very, I would say, bitter for a couple of years after I left WWE, and I said some things that I probably, shouldn't have said in hindsight. But, I guess I would say if I could point to any one reason, it would be I would point to myself as being the problem there.
Now, you have admitted on one of my shows before that you there were times where you were a bit tougher to get along with backstage. Do you regret any of that at all, or do you? I mean, is it something that you?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I don't think it was ever hard to get along with backstage. I always, at least I think I did, get along with the boys. It was just, I grew up, I was always told to, I guess, I don't remember if my parents taught me this or if it's just something that I came to do on my own, but I always kind of bucked the system and challenged authority. So, somebody tells me to do something, why should I do that?
Gotcha.
And and I always felt like I had to speak my mind, and everybody had to know what Ken Anderson was thinking at the particular time about any given topic. In my older years, I'm 42. I don't think I'm that old, but as I've aged, I've just decided that can keep some things to myself. If that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
I can and I should.
Yeah, I think with age, if someone really wants to grow and mature, I think that's something that a lot of people can really learn from. A couple lightning round ones before I let you go here. Yvonne is asking, would you ever wrestle Jake the Snake if given the opportunity?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, Mahmoud is asking. Go ahead, Jake Roberts.
No, I mean, I still watch Jake matches and Jake promos at the academy with my students.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the greatest.
Absolutely, 100%. One of the best minds in the business. Mahmoud, your character chewing gum in TNA, and explain why.
Because it was something that I remember I'm supposed to be a heel, I'm supposed to be a bad guy. People are not supposed to like me. And I remember not only my grandmother, but hearing people throughout my life complaining about, look at him, he's chewing his gum. Somebody on the street, just look at the way he chomps his gum. So that and the fact that I get cotton mouth when I wrestle, and I don't want my breath to stink.
Oh.
When I'm in close proximity with another wrestler, that's why I've always chewed gum.
So there's a lot of times where the face-to-face comes along. Was there any, I mean, you don't have to say the wrestler's name in particular, but were there any wrestlers where, like, you did the face-to-face and, like, their breath was just not on point?
Yes. I'm not going to say the name, but
of course not.
Yeah, it happened on Monday Night Raw.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that same vein, were there people who you wrestled that hygiene was not up to par in either WWE or TNA?
No, not that I can recall.
Okay, well that's
I've wrestled guys on the indies. I've wrestled guys on the independents who I've had to have a discussion with afterwards. Like,
really?
You need to wash your butt. Wash your armpits. And we just had a new class start at the academy yesterday. We had a new class start at the academy yesterday, and every time, this is now our 7th or 8th class, and every time I have this list of things on a whiteboard that I go over. Number 1 is safety. Number 2 is ask Anastasia, my wife. Number 3 is don't be a jerk. So on and so forth. There's like 20 things on this list. But one of them is hygiene. It's huge to me. If you're coming from work or you're coming from the gym or wherever, check yourself, sniff your armpits, make sure that you don't stink, check your breath, brush your teeth if you need to, chew some gum, get some mouthwash, have it on you in the car, have a change of clothing or whatever. Because at the end of the day, we're touching each other, we're grabbing each other, we're going to be rolling around with each other at some point. And like if I put you in a headlock, I'm putting my armpit right in your face, basically. So try not to smell like chicken soup. Yeah.
Especially a power bomb. Especially
oh
a
God.
Bomb. Yeah. Hashtag wash your butt for sure.
Exactly.
All right. Blaze is asking, what was your better run as Kennedy or Anderson? Big fan, by the way, is what Blaze said.
Well, thank you very much for that. I don't know, it's hard to. Each one had its positives and its negatives, and I think Kennedy was a bigger platform, and I made more money as Kennedy, and I got to experience more things and see more places and things like that. But Anderson, I felt like I had a lot more creative freedom and was able to sort of put my own spin on things.
That's the first word I thought about when the Anderson role was freedom. Gruss, were you a fan of the Aces and Eights storyline?
I was. There were things about it that I wasn't a fan of, that I didn't necessarily agree with. But I wish they would have taken more time with some of the storylines. Instead of just accepting somebody into the group. Biker gangs have prospecting. If you want to get into a biker gang, you're going to have to be a prospect for a year, where they kind of treat you like garbage, and you're the young boy basically.
Yeah.
And we never did that. It was like we just this person's in the group now, and this person's in the group. There's stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it could have carried on a little longer than it did, but I really enjoyed it, and it was a blast working with all those guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like I've had so many people from Aces and Eights on my show. Have you? Yeah, you, Knox, D'Lo, Briscoe, Bischoff,
Eric or Garrett?
Both. I've had both of them on my show. Yeah, Eric.
Because it was Garrett's. It was Eric's baby. It was his idea.
Yep. Yeah, it was.
And,
very, very interesting. The whole Aces and Eights thing. Like I said, I agree with you. I think it was too. I think the pedal was pushed a little too heavy, which caused a kind of a bad taste in hindsight. But during the time, as a fan during the time, it was good. It was the masks, and just I personally as a fan, I like reveal angles. I've been watching wrestling since the mid '80s. I love reveal angles, and you can suck me and you can hook me by giving me a good reveal, a good one, by the way, not like the higher power, It was me, Austin. That was I was very disappointed. But a good reveal angle will get me, Midnight Rider, Dusty Rhodes, like the Machines back in the day, when we knew that they were, Andre and company, and just some and just some really good, some whodunit storylines and just a big reveal at the end. TNA had a couple that were intriguing to me, the Aces and Eights and the 10-10-10. But neither paid off to me, to be honest with you, in hindsight. What
was the 10-10-10?
Well, the Abyss kept saying 10, 10, 10. It was the whole immortal thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When Hardy turned heel and Hogan and Bischoff aligned, Jarrett turned that night too. It was the Bound for Glory, yeah. And Abyss,
the one down in Daytona Beach, right?
Yeah, and Abyss kept saying 10, 10, 10 for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we were trying to figure out what it was, and So, Rob just said NXT who attacked Aleister Black was promising. Yeah, that was a good one too, and the fact that it was Johnny Gargano was good. I mean, it was a heel turn. It was a turn. It led to a heel turn. So, I agree.
Right.
I like stuff like that. Just reveal angles. We will never know who's behind GTV. But
right.
But
it was told that.
Yeah. I've had Russo on my show before, bro, a bunch of 2 or 3 times, and we talked about the GTV, bro.
I like how you just said. I've had Russo on my show before, bro.
You have to. You got to throw a bro or two in there every time we talk about Russo.
It could be a drinking game. It could be a drinking game. It should be a drinking game.
However many times Russo says bro. Russo did say it was Tom Green was the person that was supposed to be behind it, but it never.
Tom Green?
Yeah, Tom Green. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. But that never.
I did an interview with him at his at his home in the Hollywood Hills one time when I was at WWE. It was right after the Benoit incident. There, because I remember I was sitting there doing his show. It was like the Tom Green, you know, it was after his MTV run. It was just sort of on the down slope, but I remember somebody called in and said something. It was a live show, and they did a call in and did something negative about Benoit. It was like they blurted it out, and we just hung up, and that was it. Went on to the next call.
Yeah,
he was really cool. He was actually a very cool guy.
Yeah, I heard he was. Mahmoud is saying that Rikishi being revealed as the one who hit Austin. Yeah, see, I like that one too. Because who would have thought it was Rikishi out of anybody? You know what I mean? I did it for The Rock. You know, just no one would have.
The Rock.
Right.
I just saw that promo today when Rock was making fun of him.
Yes. Yeah. And he did a bunch of people too. Like that was the promo where he like made fun of like a bunch of other. I think it was
Taker.
I think it was the one before the Armageddon Hell in a Cell, because there was like a bunch of people at once that he was.
It was going to be 6 guys in the ring. It was Austin, Taker.
Rikishi was in there. Angle.
Yeah, Rikishi. Yeah, I'm going to drink a big glass of milk, and then I'm going to have some cookies, too.
I like that one, and it was someone else is saying another reveal angle that I just thought of one that I don't remember.
Mr. America.
that one was that one was a bit cheesy, a little bit too cheesy.
That was one of my favorite storylines ever. I was so entertained by that.
Really?
Just the idea that everybody knew it was Hogan, and I remember they would ask him a question. They had the lie detector test out there,
and didn't he like kind of pull up his mask?
Are you Hulk
too?
Hogan? And are you? He would say, "Yeah, well, I mean, you could see it was him. His mustache was hanging out. The whole bottom half was, open." And then they asked him, "Are you Hulk Hogan?" And he goes, "I don't know what you're talking about, brother."
Yeah, I do remember that. And of course, the reveal angle of
it was so tongue in cheek and obvious. It was great.
It was very tongue in cheek. I agree with you. And then, of course, the reveal angle with the Hornswoggle ended up being the illegitimate son, was that was a bit of a buzzkill to me, but the general manager, the computer general manager, that was a bit of a buzzkill to me too. But there was one that really I know I'll probably remember it during probably further down the show or tomorrow. There was a really good one. I think it was either in WWE early or maybe WCW. That was a pretty good reveal angle that really caught me. I mean, I guess maybe the NWO. You can kind of call that a reveal angle a bit because you got the outsiders coming in and why, and they were teasing and things like that, and the third guy. So that's probably the most popular one. So, well, Ken, appreciate you, man. Okay, I see who blew up Vince McMahon limo. I see. So people are just saying
there we go.
Yeah. Now. So yeah, chat room. We'll talk about reveal angles when Ken goes off the line here. Ken, it's been a pleasure, man. Appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Please plug the account before we leave tonight.
Yeah, if you guys, if anybody out there is interested in relocating to the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, we have a great school. We have a great family we've created here in the Twin Cities, and you can contact us. You can call 507-722-2776.
Can you say that again so I can put
either
it in the
me
chat?
or that was 507-722-2776. That's the Academy line that will you'll get a response. You can text that number, or call, and you'll get a response from either me or my wife. And you can ask any questions. You can visit theacademyprowrestling.com for information, and we're on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram is The Academy SOPW. It stands for School of Professional Wrestling, and same thing on Twitter. So please check us out.
Yes, please do. Please do. What was your favorite match, real quick?
My favorite match that I was a part of, or my favorite match of all time?
That you were a part of.
So two or three really stand out in my head. One was the lockdown match that I had with Kurt Angle in, I believe it was 2009 or 2010, in St. Louis. That was really awesome, fun. I'd say it's awesome because I watch it and I can see all the mistakes that I made in the match, and I hate it. But I like the storytelling aspect of it. I have to give all the credit to Kurt for basically planning that and laying it all out. I just had to go out there and help him execute it. And then the other one was when I wrestled Matt Hardy. I think it's on the the Best of Matt Hardy DVD. He selected it as one of his favorites too. It was this match where I had the briefcase. I remember I had the Money in the Bank briefcase. And at one point I'm crawling for the briefcase and Matt comes and drop kicks it out of the frame. I can't remember if that was a SmackDown. It was either a SmackDown or a pay-per-view. I can't remember.
Got it.
Exactly.
Oh, I just remember. I see the joy of buffer talk. I remember one of the reveal angles that I was remembered was the when Shawn Michaels got the crate when the big crate box fell on him, and then ended up being Triple H. He ended up being the one that you're darn right it was me, Sean. And I think that was a pretty good one. Ended up being Triple H.
I don't recall that one.
Really?
I don't recall that one.
I gotta send that.
No, was that during the Attitude Era or before?
No, that was that was probably.
Or was it after I left?
So Michaels was gone from what, 98 to 02, right? So it was after.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think he was gone for 4 years with his back. So it was after 02. So it was a little bit after. They had their match at SummerSlam 02 when Michaels wore the pants. And then I think they
wore the jeans.
Yeah, he was in the jeans. And then so it was after 02. So a lot of times when I talk Michaels, I think of 98 and before, or 02 and above. And it was after 02. So,
right.
Yeah. Thanks, Ken, man. Appreciate you being on the show tonight, man.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to I think you're already a Five Timers Club, but if we see each other at during Mania weekend, man, I'll give you I may give you one of those bomber jackets or something.
Awesome. I love it.
Thanks a lot, man.
I love it, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate you, and keep doing your thing, man.
Likewise. Thanks so much, man.
Thanks. Bye.
Ken Anderson, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much, Ken, for being on the show tonight. I really like the idea of the of the reveal angles. We got a little bit of time tonight to talk about some reveal angles. I like some of y'all's Memo, that was a corny one. I agree. The story was with Enzo and Cass. I think that was corny. I agree with that. I think it was kind of obvious that it was going to be Big Cass. So it really didn't. Yeah, that wasn't really a good reveal angle. What are some other good ones? What are some other good reveal angles? Especially the ones that caused a turn. Were there any reveal angles that caused a face to? Okay. Oh, see, I knew I was going to remember the one that I wanted to remember the whole time to me, probably the best reveal angle was Jake Roberts. Do you trust me? Jake Roberts. When he was kind of, journeying the Ultimate Warrior, do you trust me? And then, what was it? And then he put him in the room with the snakes, and then, looks up and the shot of the Undertaker, and that was really cool because that ended up causing the Jake Roberts to turn heel up at the time, I believe. So that was probably one of the best reveal angles. The "Do You Trust Me" with Jake Roberts and the Ultimate Warrior and the Undertaker. Any more? Can't think of any more. Brandon, Vince is the higher power. Yeah, we talked about that. I think that was trash. I think I was so underwhelmed. At that. That it would end up being Vince. That was the higher power. Like I think like Jake would probably have been better. Like someone like a Jake Roberts, or I can't even think of anybody that would have really fit that mold. I can't even think of anybody who would have fit that mold. Oh yeah, Mahmoud, the vegetative state. I like that one. I like the Undertaker vegetative state. Ended up being Kane. Kane did the turn. I liked it. I anybody else? Can anybody else think about any other reveal angles? I want to hear some old school reveal angles, like some old NWA stuff. I can't even think of any NWA. Okay, Rob, the Save Us. Okay. That really didn't go too far. The Millennium, that's a good one. The Millennium one was the best reveal angle. Especially when he interrupted The Rock and came out. Yeah, I think that was a really good one. Good one. That was a good one, Rob. All right, speaking of The Undertaker, we're going to talk more about The Undertaker today. We're going to talk about WrestleMania matches from 98 to 2003, and also have a compilation of Undertaker questions. Brandon says, only one that comes to mind in regards to NWA was Dusty being the Midnight Rider. Yeah, I talked about that with Ken. Yeah, that's the one I could think of, was Dusty as the Midnight Rider, NWA wise, because I'm thinking of like, the Black Scorpion. That's a really good one. Yes. How could we not think about that one? The Black Scorpion is probably one of the most popular NWA, WCW reveal angles ever. I was really, really intrigued of the Black Scorpion angle. But I was underwhelmed that it ended up being Flair. To be honest with you, I was like, like it's Flair, because I remember when I wish I can. I'll probably get pinged if I share a video or something like that. So I'm not going to do that. But I really hope. Oh, that's a good one, Gruss. Undertaker versus Undertaker at SummerSlam. That's a good one. But I was really intrigued of the Black Scorpion angle, because I remember like the promos were like the silhouette promos, and like he would give clues of like who he was, and just like they've wrestled before, they've teamed before. It was so I remember the Black Scorpion angle. I was so intrigued in that angle. That is the one right there, the Black Scorpion. But, it was, how it turned out to be was just like, It wasn't very good, honestly. So we'll see. Yes, Brandon. Oli did do the Black Scorpion promos. Yep. He did do the Black Scorpion promos. I was really into Black Scorpion. All right, ladies and gentlemen, good stuff. Good talk by Ken. Great talk by Ken. Go. The number, I wrote the number here. 507-722-2776. That's the Academy. So, all right. Let's talk about. Let's get into some headlines. We got a few headlines, of course. As always, hashtag Ask Chris questions. I've got some time, a little bit more time for those today. Really, really good discussion by Ken Anderson. So let's address a few of these headlines. Let's do this. Here we go. First trivia question of the night. Who did The Undertaker compete against at SummerSlam 92? Who did The Undertaker compete against at SummerSlam 92? Nope. I see an answer already, but that is not the correct answer. Unfortunately. Yeah, Black Scorpion. I mean, that's making me want to go back and it's making me want to go back and watch some Black Scorpion promos. So, Gruss is asking, ask Chris, why is Becky Lynch trying to copy Stone Cold storylines from '97? That's not a Becky thing. That's a WWE booking thing. Yeah, just can't come up with anything original, huh? It's basically they're with Raw. They basically are doing the female version of Austin McMahon, and that that is not original at all. So unfortunate. Brandon's asking, ask Chris, what are they doing with EC3? The same thing that they're doing with all the other NXT stars. They're on both brands now. Vince McMahon, he's doing that on purpose so they can have more exposure, so it can be more, it can mean more when they choose their particular brand. Personally, I'm not getting anything from it. And it didn't really look, and we'll talk about Raw in a minute, but it didn't really make EC3 look strong if he if it's like a big huge upset that he beat Dean Ambrose. Yes, it's an upset, but it just made him look very mid-cardy by saying, whoa, EC3, are you serious? So it wasn't really good. So Lee and Mahmood. Good stuff. Kamala, the Ugandan Giants. Rob is asking, ask Chris. I asked this a while back, but we WCW style ran out of time. We gotta go. We're out of time. Who do I think is facing Taker this Mania? No one. I don't think Taker's going to compete at this Mania, which I'm a big fan of. I'm totally happy that if Taker doesn't compete at Mania, I am 100% okay with that. I stand by it. I think he should have retired at 28. I can't really think of anybody except for Roman Reigns. I was there, and I think Roman Reigns beating him helped Reigns to an extent, but the very fact that he got beat up weeks later and turned over by the ambulance by Braun Strowman, I think that killed his momentum. I think that was terrible booking, terrible timing, terrible. That you beat the Undertaker at WrestleMania, then you get tossed over by Braun Strowman in an ambulance. I think that was terrible. So in hindsight, that didn't really help him, especially since Taker came back. The fact that Roman Reigns beat Taker and then Reigns got beat up weeks later by Braun Strowman, and then Taker came back the next year. I think in hindsight, it really didn't help Reigns all that much. So I stand by the fact that I think that Taker should have retired at 28. I think the Hell in a Cell match against Triple H, it was so much emotion in that match. Michaels as the ref gave the Undertaker an edge. I mean, it gave Triple H an edge. Taker still prevailed. I didn't like his hair at the time. It was terrible. Had more of an Uncle Fester look going for him. But I think that should have been his last pay-per-view, the Hell in a Cell match. Because if you think about it, 29 was Punk, right? That didn't do anything to anybody. 30 was Brock. I still think Brock shouldn't have beat Taker. I think he still shouldn't have broke the streak. I think that was still a bad call. I'm sure we'll probably go into that more toward this is the 5-year anniversary of the streak being broken. How about that? Yeah, we'll talk about that more as we come to get closer to WrestleMania. The 5th year, the 5-year streak of the 5-year anniversary of the streak ending. So we'll talk about that. Yeah, so what, 31 was what, Bray, because I was in Santa Clara. 32 was Shane. That's still nothing. There was a really bad storyline. The match was subpar. 33 was Orlando, so that was Reigns, and then last year was Cena, which, you know, it was a shock factor that he was there, but at the end, it really didn't mean anything. So, yeah, didn't mean anything. All right. Next trivia question. Who were the 2 people who claimed to have found The Undertaker in 1994? Who were the 2 people who claimed to have found The Undertaker in 1994? All right, so for our headlines, so the Hart Foundation, the 2 people. I see one person with one answer, so we need 2 people. All right. So Hall of Fame, Hart Foundation. So there's been some discussion of whether it should have been either the faction or the team. So they're doing the team, which is Bret Hart, Jim Neidhart, and Bret Hart, Jim Neidhart, and of course Jimmy Hart. So that'll make Bret the second 2-time WWE Hall of Famer. Very interesting. That Bret becomes a 2-time Hall of Famer over Hogan, because I would imagine like the NWO would be in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, I think that's interesting. So Bret is the second ever 2-time Hall of Famer. Well, he will be. And then the thing is, so Jim Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and then Jimmy Hart, they haven't been Hall of Famers yet. So no, Rob, Jimmy Hart's he's not a Hall of Famer. So Jimmy and Jim will both be Hall of Fame for the first time. So that's a good way to put Jim in the Hall of Fame. I think in that vein, it's a good call. I think it's a very good call to put Jim Neidhart in the Hall of Fame as a tag team star. Jimmy Hart too. I'm totally fine with that too. So I think it's good. I'm okay with it. I think it's a good call. I guess the conversation comes in of whether British Bulldog and Brian Pillman should be in there. And, you know, it's one of those things that I don't know. I'm a bit torn with that, because here's why I'm torn with that. Pillman, I don't know if WWE would put him in the Hall of Fame by himself. I don't know that. I think he should be, but I don't know if to WWE he has the resume to go in the Hall of Fame by himself. So being a part of the Hart Foundation and going in that way would be good for Pillman. I think, and here's the thing. Here's the issue with Bulldog too. I totally believe that Bulldog should go in by himself, but do you put Dynamite Kid in, which I think the British Bulldogs should be in the Hall of Fame as a team, but the British Bulldogs had a very short run in the 80s as a top WWE tag team. Bulldog did a few things in WWE, Wembley Stadium 92, Hart Foundation 97, so he, Camp Cornette, things like that. So Bulldog had a more successful, maybe he wasn't as popular as British Bulldogs, but it's really tough. It's really tough to really decipher whether he should go in as a singles or as a tag team. Because if he goes in as a tag team, he would probably go in as the British Bulldogs. So he wouldn't go in the Hart Foundation. Yeah, I don't know. And then WWE's, I don't know how WWE and Dynamite Kid, it would be posthumous for both of them, unfortunately. I don't know. It's interesting. I think the safe bet is to go ahead and put the British Bulldogs as a team in the Hall of Fame, right? I think that would be ideal. Yeah, I think that's probably what you do. Because you don't want to shaft Dynamite Kid because they were one of the most popular teams in the 80s. But Bulldog had a more successful singles run in the WWE. So really either way can have a strong argument. But Pillman, he doesn't have that argument. It was just, Pillman, his, WCW career, which wasn't really a lot, and his WWE career, the loose cannon, joining the Horsemen, ECW, all of that, builds a resume. But as far as WWE is concerned, I don't know if he has a strong enough resume to go in by himself. So going in with the Hart Foundation would work, and then unfortunately you got the Owen thing, the dispute and stuff like that, which is so unfortunate. It's so unfortunate. Or Owen Hart needs to be in the Hall of Fame. So it's sad that some politics outside of WWE is preventing that from happening. Hopefully everything is straightened up because Owen Hart should be in the Hall of Fame, hands down. All right. So the correct answer to that question is Paul Bearer and Ted DiBiase both claimed to have found The Undertaker, and that led to the Undertaker versus Undertaker match at the 1994 SummerSlam, I believe it was. Chris is asking, ask Chris, the loose cannon sparked the Attitude Era in the WWE. Sure it did, but is that, is that enough? Is that enough to have a Hall of Fame career? I don't think so. So, I mean, okay, I don't think the WWE thinks so. I think WWE. I think that Brian Pillman should be in the Hall of Fame. I personally think. I think with Stampede, with WCW, the Cruiserweight division, the Horsemen, the Loose Cannon ECW, the Loose Cannon in WWE, the Hart Foundation. I think he has enough to be in the Hall of Fame. I just don't. I personally don't think WWE thinks that, that he has that. But yeah, Mahmood makes a good point there. Stone Cold would induct Brian Pillman. I totally agree with that. All right, next question. What pay-per-view did Paul Bearer turn on the Undertaker to align with Mankind? What pay-per-view did Paul Bearer turn on the Undertaker to align with Mankind? All right, Mahmood. That was quick. I like it. SummerSlam 1996. SummerSlam 1996. Mahmood said it was the Boiler Room match. Gruss said this. If Snoop Dogg can be in the Hall of Fame, Pillman can. That is totally different. That is 100% metaphorically apples and oranges. Snoop Dogg is a part of the celebrity wing. He's not a part of the wrestling wing. Snoop Dogg, Kid Cash. I think Drew Carey's in there. Donald Trump. So, yeah. I don't know who else. I can't think about who else is in the. I can't think of who else is in the Hall of Fame, the celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah, at least that celebrity wing is trash. I question the whole thing, honestly. The whole celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame. Yeah, no. I think if you were a celebrity that was a very integral part of the WWE's growth, I think you should be in the regular Hall of Fame. Like, just having a celebrity wing of someone who performed a couple times. Like, here's the thing. I think, like, someone like Flo Rida is going to be in the celebrity wing Hall of Fame here coming up in a couple of years, because he's made some performances like Cyndi Lauper. Yeah, Mahmood and Brandy, I agree. Cyndi Lauper should be in the regular Hall of Fame. Like she shouldn't be in some celebrity wing, because Cyndi Lauper was she was a big integral part of the growth, the rock and wrestling era. A huge part of that. I mean, the rock and wrestling era is the rock and wrestling era is probably the pivotal moment of WWE's success. Mr. T is another one. I agree. He should be in the regular Hall of Fame because he was a part of the first couple WrestleManias, and he was a pivotal part in the success. Muhammad Ali should be another one in the regular Hall of Fame. Muhammad Ali and Mr. T were the two celebrities that WWE really hinged on to really help propel their company. It's been said many times that WrestleMania was really a huge gamble. It was one of the biggest gambles in the WWE history. The lifeblood of the company really hinged upon the success of WrestleMania, and they used the celebrity pub of Mr. T and Muhammad Ali to make it successful. And I think that Muhammad Ali and Mr. T, because of that, should be in the regular Hall of Fame. I think Cyndi Lauper should be in the Hall of Fame because of the rock and wrestling era. So, just a celebrity wing to me. I mean, although I was there and I appreciate Kid Rock's speech because it was shorter than Hillbilly Jim's, which, kind soul. But, Shaq. I agree. Shaq should be in the regular Hall of Fame too. Yep. Floyd Mayweather. Yep. I think those are good ones. I agree. But yeah. Just Hillbilly Jim, man. God bless him. He started off with saying, "I'm not going to be long," and he was alone. And so, And that's the thing. I'm torn this year because I usually go to the Hall of Fame, get dressed up and go and enjoy myself and sit on the floor and do some coverage. But that's the same day as the G1 Supercard. So I might be missing the Hall of Fame this year for the G1 Supercard. So we'll see. I will. Speaking of a reveal angle, I'll announce where I'm going to be for WrestleMania, so we can do some chatting and some meet and greets, and maybe I'll bring a few wrestlers with me. How about that? We'll see. Tweet at Chris Prolific. Boom, right there. Perfect. Let me know if you're going to WrestleMania. Because I know people who are going. I know wrestlers who are going to WrestleMania that I can just pull for some Q&A or something like that and put something together. It really depends on who's going to come, who confirm. If I've been an event planner for 15 years, and if there's, I can put something together if there's a strong enough demand for it. I can make something happen, but if not, I'll just do some video coverage of what I've been doing, just a bunch of indie shows and have a bunch of fun, do a bunch of coverage, be super, super busy from Thursday to Saturday, really. And then Sunday I'll watch Mania and come back Monday morning. All right, so Rob is asking, ask Chris, AEW announced that they have offered a major deal with the current WWE star. We actually want to talk about that as a headline. Balor posted a pic with Jericho. Thoughts? No, I don't see that. I don't see Balor. WWE would not. Yeah, they wouldn't okay that for sure. Yeah, I don't see Balor. And plus, offering a deal. I don't see. I know Triple H before has talked about, how he couldn't really offer deals with ROH stars because of some conflicts, contractual things that he just couldn't do. I don't know how that works now with AEW and WWE, as far as, because they usually don't permit that, just to discuss deals with current WWE stars. WrestleVotes actually tweeted that. That was actually one of the headlines that we're going to talk about today. I don't know. It's interesting it's really interesting to know who it is. I don't know if Finn Balor would be like out of the park. But I do think Finn Balor would be a good surprise Lex Luger, Mall of America, inaugural Nitro type of thing. If Balor just kind of if the lights went out, I think that's really how they should reveal the whole ECW type of feel to it. Like the old school ECW. Like when they had debuts, returns, the lights would go out. The lights would come back on, and then there's Taz, there's the Sandman, there's Raven, and I think that's what they should do with All or Nothing. Lights go off, lights come back on, and there's your reveal, whoever it is. Now, if they did that and it was Finn Balor, I think the crowd would go bananas. But if they announced Finn Balor, I don't think it would be buzzworthy, but I don't think it would be as hot as if it was like a reveal. Talking about a reveal again. If it was a big reveal, I think it would be hotter that way. So we'll see. We'll see. Next week is the ticket party, and there was supposed to be some announcements of other people coming, so we'll see how that works. Nakamura to AEW. Yeah. Nah, I don't think so. Speaking of reveals, Lex Luger and the gift wrap boxes to Sting. I'm not saying it was good. It was just something that came to mind. Thank you for bringing that up. No, it was not good, but thank you for bringing that up. If anybody have any more reveal angles, do that. I think that's the thread. That's the theme for tonight. Reveal angles. Very interesting running theme for tonight. Running discussion is the reveal angles. I like that. Mahmoud is asks Chris, are you in agreement with that the Elimination Chamber card is weak and uneventful? I think it's predictable. Personally, there's nothing that stands out for me. Unfortunately, there's just, I think it is a bit weak. And it just goes to show just how saturated WWE is with pay-per-views. Like, they don't have riveting stories and they don't captivate people enough that they just got to keep, oversaturating us with pay-per-views as if that's going to make anything better. I think it kind of hurts WWE because it doesn't give the fans enough time to really dig deep, just really dig into a storyline. I'm a traditionalist. For everybody who listens to this show knows very well that I like old school wrestling. And I really like the Saturday Night's Main Event days because Saturday Night's Main Event was like the buffer. Same thing with Clash of Champions. It was like the placeholders in between like big pay-per-views, and I really liked that. It had a pay-per-view feel to it, but it wasn't necessarily a pay-per-view. You would still have like matches that weren't necessarily pay-per-view quality. Like I think one Clash of Champions, it was like the Italian Stallion versus Lex Luger. I think that was one of them. Of course, that's not a Clash of the Champions. That's not a pay-per-view caliber match. However, the main event was strong enough to really plug it as a really big pay-per-view feel. And Saturday Night's Main Event did the same thing. They really did a lot of booking, a lot of good storyline, riveting storylines. I remember Paul Orndorff and Hulk Hogan when they had their storyline, and that was huge. Saturday Night's Main Event was real big. Hogan and I think it was Hogan and Kamala. They had a storyline going to Saturday Night's Main Event. I was a fan. I was a big fan of just the history of and how they would build that. So I am trying to look up Clash. So the first 1988 was the first time it aired. Nakamura AEW. Perhaps. That would be interesting. I'd be okay with that. Gruss asks Chris, it's hard for a wrestling company to keep secret in the social media era. In a way, yeah, that's true. But at the same time, I think that you can do it. Like Sting coming to Survivor Series. Popped. That was huge. Even when, here's the thing. Even with the dirt sheets, even with people saying he may come, he may not come, I think the very fact that Sting actually stepped foot in the WWE as opposed to, all the years of not doing it, and everything just lined up to still make that a really, really huge moment. So you can still do it. Speaking of boxes, what do you think of Snake being inside for Randy Savage and Liz? Oh, that's okay. Yeah, that was a good one. I like that one. Snake and Savage with the wedding gift, and then unfortunately led to the bite Yikes. The big old bite, which was crazy. Macho Man is a G when it comes to that. Robert saying awful reveal, DDP and WD stalking Undertaker and Sarah. Now I thought that DDP as the stalker was very riveting. It was very surprising. Definitely not in any imagination would have imagined that it was DDP. But go back to the archives and listen to my interview with DDP. We talked about that. Just as far as his thoughts on just how it all went. I think that the angle was bad. I think it turned out to not be good at all. But him being the person was a big surprise. Gruss is saying, ask Chris, Vampiro should have been the stalker in the DDP in 2001. Yeah. I don't think that Vampiro was the thing was Vampiro, very, very good worker, super over in Mexico. There's just, I don't think DDP, I don't think that Vampiro, I don't think WWE had enough confidence in Vampiro, to have him be in that big of a role. All right, so I'm looking at Clash of the Champions stuff here. So the very first Clash of the Champions was March 27th, 1988, Greensboro Coliseum. Opening match was Mike Rotunda with Kevin Sullivan going against Jimmy Garvin with Precious. Midnight Express against the Fantastics. Road Warriors against the Powers of Pain. And the barbed wire match. And Luger and Wyndham against Anderson and Blanchard for the tag team titles. And then Flair, the time limit draw between Flair and Sting. So that was actually there was a pretty solid card there. Okay, and then the second one was June 8th, 1988, U.S. title match opened the card between Barry Windham and Brad Armstrong. So that ended with Anderson and Blanchard against Sting and Rhodes. That was a double DQ for the tag team championship. So they really so let me see. It was Clash of the Champions was like the takeovers of now. Because you had one in March, and then you had one about 2.5 months later, June 8th. Then you had one 3 months later, September 7th. And then December 7th. So about every 3 months, which was that's pretty sweet, man. Every 3 months, you had a Clash of the Champions. Big, that's I think that's awesome. So yeah, just World Television Champ. Brad Armstrong had a television championship opportunity too. Time limit draw, 20 minutes against Mike Rotunda on the third Clash of the Champions, September 7th, 1988. So yeah, interesting stuff. We'll talk more. We'll go in depth to Clash of the Champions for a Flavor of the Week or so. Another episode. All right, so good reveal, though predictable, was the Undertaker angle when they kept flashing the date. Ain't no grave that can hold my body down. Ain't no grave can hold my body down. Yeah, I think that was good too. Didn't TNA, didn't they counter that by trying to do something for that day? Because I remember TNA trying to do something with it. And that it might have been the 10. No. Oh, what was that? I know the TNA tried to do like something big for that too, which tanked. They tried to counter that by doing something. I don't remember what it was, but it didn't because I know that they tried to counter Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels confrontation with bringing a bunch of people to to TNA. That was, I think it was January 4th, 2010, if I'm not mistaken. That's when I think Sting came. Sting and RVD had a match, and I think RVD won the title. That's when Hardy came. I think you had like Flair came that day. Okay, so yeah, so TNA did that a few weeks after the Undertaker reveal. Okay, thank you for that, Grass. Yeah, okay, so TNA, they had a bunch of reveals too. Let me look at the card for that, the results. Yeah, because I know that they try to combat, they're trying to compete with them, and it just wasn't. I watched both of them, but it was a bit of a knockoff feel to it. Unfortunately, because I've been a TNA apologist for a while, but TNA had some tough times, unfortunately. Gruss is asking, asks Chris, should WWE have Sting versus Undertaker at WrestleMania 27? 27 was what? Trip? So, yeah. Because 25 and 26 was Michaels. 27, 28 was Triple H. So, Sting Taker 27. That may have worked. See, the thing, yeah, perhaps. Still Asylum match. Alex Sabin, Chris Consequences Creed. I'm looking at the results for the January 4th Impact episode. And that's the same one with the reconciliation of Michaels and Brett. ODP defeated Tara to become the new Women's Knockout Champion. Kong and Hamada defeated Sarita and Taylor Wilde to become the new TNA Women's Knockout Champions. Hernandez and Matt Morgan defeated Dr. Stevie and Raven. That would be interesting to talk to Matt Morgan about just the vibe in TNA at that time when they did the head-to-head with Raw. Yeah, what were the backstage talks and all of that, you know? The interesting. Samoa Joe defeated Abyss, and then AJ defeated Kurt Angle to retain the title. That was a really good match, by the way. So, yeah, that would be interesting to talk to Matt Morgan about, just to see what the backstage feel was and what the conversations were of like, hey, we're like legitimately going head to head with Monday Night Raw at this time, even though our ratings aren't as close, nowhere near as WWE's right now. So, all right, well, the last thing we'll talk about here is Sanity's. Killian Dane making an interesting tweet, being sidelined for the WWE events. It may have been jokingly, may have been a shoot. Thinking that his tweet has something to do with his WWE live event absence. But just really Sanity, period, though. I mean, just it's been over a month. I think it was the Christmas episode that they were a part of SmackDown Live. And WWE, since they've came up from NXT, they've done a terrible job with booking Sanity. I mean, just hardly ever there. I know Anderson and Gallows was like that too, just hardly ever there. Just really bad booking. Anderson and Gallows, I mean, they were good on Raw, but when they got moved over to SmackDown, they were used poorly. Sanity's even worse. I mean, put them back to NXT if you're having such a terrible. If it's so bad, if you're having such a terrible time with booking them, I mean, something needs to happen. Why in the world would you even have them on the main roster to barely even use them? Terrible. And all of them can go, especially Eric Young. Eric Young's a fantastic worker to me. I've always liked Eric Young as a worker. Doesn't make sense. Go back to NXT. You'll have exposure. You'll have shine. You were you were a top team. You were the top team at one point in NXT. Why would you bring them to the main roster just to do a terrible job with using them? So, all right. Yes, I agree, Brandon. The main roster is too stacked, especially with these new people coming up here, and just using them just to use them. It's weird. All right, two-parter here. Which pay-per-view hosted the first ever Hell in a Cell match, and who was the Undertaker's opponent? Which pay-per-view hosted the first ever Hell in a Cell match, and who was the Undertaker's opponent? Two-parter there. Raw and SmackDown. Thoughts? Give us your grades. Give us your grades for both Raw and SmackDown. Gruss! I see you first. I see Rob as well. Mahmood as well. Bad Blood, Shawn Michaels. Next Undertaker question. Who did the Undertaker partner with to become tag team champion for the first time? Who did the Undertaker partner with to become tag team champion in the WWE for the first time? Rob said both the snooze fest. Yeah, Raw. Yeah, both of them was just like meh. The Elias versus Jeff Jarrett was really weird because Jeff Jarrett was supposed to be the babyface, but Portland, I don't think they got it. Maybe, I don't know. It just didn't seem like they really, because Jeff Jarrett was getting some heel heat. So yeah, that was just really odd to me. Brandon, there you go. Good job, man. Looking at something here real quick. July 26, 1998 is the first time that he was tag team champion. So, and that person that he was tag team champion with was Stone Cold Steve Austin. Good job, Brandon. All right, let's see. Typical weeks away from a pay-per-view weekly show. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. The EC3 thing and Dean Ambrose, we talked about that. McIntyre and Corbin against Braun Strowman and Kurt Angle, for that to be a main event, that was a bit of a snoozer. I don't know exactly. I don't know if they're building up something for Angle, but you know they've done a terrible job keeping his legendary status. I'm just not a fan of what they're doing with Angle at all. Super terrible. Yeah, and I don't like what they're doing with Drew either. I to be honest with you, I would prefer another big heel. Whatever, I'm sure that there's a heel that like Jinder Mahal. Let Jinder Mahal get a little bit of a push. Put him with Baron Corbin. Take Drew away from Baron Corbin and this Angle. It's terrible. Put Jinder with Corbin and let them feud against Braun Strowman, and I would have them attack Braun Strowman, jump Braun Strowman, and I would have that. To me, that's when I would have Bray Wyatt come back. It would be a Raw. I would have Angle away from this too. I would have them attack Braun Strowman, jump him, lights go off, Bray Wyatt comes in, he helps Braun Strowman. There you go. And if you want to do Corbin and Jinder versus Strowman and Bray at Mania, do it. Do it. Brandon says it seemed like the Angle Corbin thing has been going on forever. Terrible ending. Mamu says, Gross said Jarrett needs to change that theme song. I think that's the point. I think that's the JAFF, JEFF, type thing. I think that's what they want to do with him, his old WWE gimmick. Moose says, "Ooh, good one, Chris. Bray Wyatt returns to help Braun. I like it." Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not? They've had issues with finding somewhere to put him right now. So I think the best thing you do is just to have Jinder and Corbin, jump Braun and lights go off. Let Braun and Bray team. Why not? Let the revival beat Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. Even if you want to do this Corbin and Jinder against Braun and Bray thing in Mania, do it, because you don't necessarily need a title behind it. But if you want to have the revival beat Roode and Gable, I have a soft spot for Bobby Roode as a babyface, to be honest with you. Although a lot of people, have been criticizing it, but I don't have necessarily a problem with it. But if you want to have the revival beat, Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, you have the revival as champs, and then you have Bray and Braun as a team. Because Rowan is with Daniel Bryan in his corner, does that mean Harper joins them? Does Harper join Bryan, or does Harper join Bray and Braun? If he joins Bray and Braun, it'd be more of a Wyatt family thing, which I don't know if he would. I don't want to see Braun. I don't want to see Bray as a heel again. I do not want to see Bray as a heel again. He sucked the life out of WWE in his career when he was a heel. He got so stale, and no, I don't want to see Bray as a heel again. Ask Chris, is Braun Strowman rumored to be a world champion? That's a good question, Gus. No, I still think that there's some star power to him. There's some level of protection to him. He just doesn't just lose random matches like Drew McIntyre. Now, they ruined Drew McIntyre. They've ruined him. I mean, just a foolproof plan, big heel, tried and true, just great path to become champ, and they have ruined Drew McIntyre, and it's sickening to see. Just terrible, absolutely terrible. There's still a level of protection with Braun to an extent. So, all right. So I guess that's your Raw and SmackDown grades I'm saying here. Not necessarily grades, but more comments. If there's grades, let me know. For SmackDown, it seemed like Charlotte's going the heel route. For Triple H to just tell Charlotte to just go away, that's interesting. I can help. Ask Chris, should have Drew McIntyre won the Royal Rumble. With Brock, I've said he should have, but with Brock and Bryan both being heels, I don't think that would have been the best idea. What else we got here? Bryan to make a faction with Harper and Rowan behind maybe one more guy. Yeah, I can see that. I can see Harper and Rowan having a faction. Can you help book Drew McIntyre to become world champion? Well, I think if Seth beats Brock, I think eventually you can still hopefully you can still rebuild Drew and make him a star, but they're doing a good job. They're doing a terrible job with booking him right now. And then SmackDown, Orton and Ali was actually a decent match. I'm surprised that Nakamura and Rusev defeated Anderson and Gallows. I don't know if they're making this a thing. Honestly, I don't know. We'll see. Gus is asking, should Sanity join the Daniel Bryan movement? No, because I think that they'll bear him even more, honestly. Rob is asking, do you really think Seth would beat Brock, though? I don't, but because Brock is, I think from what I know, Brock is scheduled for the show, the Saudi Arabia show in May. So that's maybe when they'll have him drop it, perhaps. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see Seth winning. But it's surprising to me that they would have them win the Royal Rumble and go to face Brock at WrestleMania, just to lose. And I've said this before on the show, like, I'm big fan of Seth, but it's like Seth, AJ, Daniel Bryan, Dean Ambrose, like they all all five of them kind of fit in the same good worker, smaller frame category, and Lesnar plowed through all of them. And why would he have an issue? Why would he have trouble plowing through Seth? It can't be a clean, because it just wouldn't make sense to me. Like that, just him having trouble or just losing cleanly to Seth, and he is very similar to all the other names that I mentioned that Lesnar would just plow through. So I don't know how they're going to book that. Interesting trivia, Brock Lesnar going against Seth Rollins now at WrestleMania 35. Brock Lesnar has now competed against, well, he will come April the 7th, I believe. He will compete against every single member of the Shield at WrestleMania individually in singles matches. Will we have greatest WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia this year after WrestleMania 35? I hope not. I hope not. I don't want that. Should WrestleMania this year have 2 Battle Royal matches or remove them both? It's been like a pre-show thing, so I'm cool with that if they have it on the pre-show. Although I think the Andre Battle Royal should be on the main card. I think that's a good way to push someone like they did with Cesaro. They didn't follow through with that. That's another theme that we've been talking about. But yeah. All right. So 98 to 2003, real quick. Do that for a couple of minutes here. So 98 was Kane at WrestleMania 14. I remember him, rejecting and refusing to go against Kane for so long, and then for formalities, let's do this. The flavor of the week. Here we go.
It is now time for the flavor of the week.
All right. Here we go. All right, so the winner of the Andre Battle Royal get a title shot at SummerSlam. They should get a title at the Raw after WrestleMania, which is kind of like a pay-per-view in itself. Boss Man, the Hell in a Cell where he hung him. That was just weird. They both were heels, I believe. This the corporate ministry versus the corporate ministry stuff, and just that was just a weird match. Didn't wrestle at 2000, came back in injury. Actually, perfect question here. What pay-per-view did the Undertaker return in 2000 to debut as ABA character? So he came back in 01. Match with Triple H versus at WrestleMania 17 was fantastic. I was a big fan. I think that was probably one of my favorite Taker WrestleMania matches. And then the next year after that was 10-0 against Flair. I was a big fan of that match too. Arn Anderson just planning that spine buster out of nowhere. I was a big fan of that match too. And then on an unfortunate low note, A-Tray and Big Show at 19. That match was less than 10 minutes and just terrible. Nathan Jones was supposed to be a part of it. So glad that he wasn't, because it would have been a tag match and it would have just messed up his streak. And that was just all types of craziness going on that year with Taker and his in Mania spot. So that was really odd. Good job. Judgment Day. All right, ladies and gentlemen, 358 episodes in the books. Big thanks to Ken Anderson for being on the show tonight. Fantastic show. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for the PNP Nation. Join the Patreon, ladies and gentlemen. You see that? Patreon. If you want all these weekly interviews, these live Q&As, support the show. You see how much work I put in the show. Please show me the favor of your thanks by just giving, it's a very small donation. Thank you so much, and join the Patreon to support the show. All right. Thanks so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to everybody who's saying good show right now. Appreciate you being on the show with us. WrestleMania 15. Yeah, that was crazy. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. 358 episodes. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, I am Chris Featherstone. Enjoy your week of wrestling. God bless. And always remember, I do it for you. Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen. Bye-bye.